Wait, honors pre-calc or honors
Algebra
algebra trig? Ah, shoot. All right, that's all right. Close enough. Pre-calc's doing this as well, so that's why sometimes I get you guys confused. I have honors pre-calc kids coming all the time.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about graphing sine and cosine functions. Give your Jamboard a second here to load. Maybe I need to try reloading it. Are you able to see it okay?
Yeah, it's just
your Jamboard?
it's loading right now. On your screen.
What's that?
It says it's loading on your screen.
Right, right. Yeah, I don't know why. Sometimes Jamboard is a little sometimes I have to like close it and open it back up again. Okay, I'll try that. And sometimes you just have to wait a little bit for it to load. There we go. All right, so I'm just going to whip through these kind of relatively quick, explain them, and then that way you can practice. I like how your questions are written. That's how I prefer them to be written, where they have the B, you have the B factored out already. If it's not factored out, I recommend you factor it out. So your equation is y equals a sine b x plus x minus c, let's say, x minus c plus d. And these are all a, b, c, and d all help you graph it. Okay, so your amplitude is a, right? B is equal to 2 pi over the period. Right? Good with that?
Yeah.
Which means the period also equals 2 pi over b. We solve it like that. This is your phase shift or your horizontal shift, and this is your vertical shift or your up and down shift. So your amplitude is 2, but it also is negative. So I'm not going to write -2. I'm going to write 2, but I'm writing negative out there so I don't forget to flip it, because the sine graph normally goes like this, but this one is going to start going down, right?
Yeah.
Your period is 2 pi over b, and b is 1/4. So it's 2 pi over 1/4. How do you divide by 1/4?
Is it just multiply by 4/1?
Perfect. So that's just 8 pi. Okay. Your horizontal and vertical shift, I'm going to write these down here. Your phase shift is going to be negative pi. So you're starting left pi. Your vertical shift is down 3. You see that?
Yeah.
And very importantly, I like to write the interval lengths. The interval length is equal to whatever your period is times 1/4. So that equals 8 pi times 1/4, which is 2 pi. Okay, so here's how I do this. I start, since they already drew in these lines here, I'm just going to go ahead and call this this first blue line. I'm going to call that, I'm going to like make it a dotted line and call that my midline. Okay, so my midline, the equation of my midline is going to be whatever my vertical shift is. It's my d. So it's y equals d, which in this case is -3, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's my midline. Now I'm going to use my amplitude to go above and below that, whatever the amplitude is. My amplitude, I'll use yellow for this. It's going to go 2 above it. So what's 2 above it?
2.
Remember, I started at -3. So if I go 2 above it, where am I at?
-1.
Good. And what's 2 below it?
-5.
Good. Okay. Got it. So those are those points. So I dealt with I've got half of my work done. Now I'm going to do my shift. Now I'm going to shift things. It told me that I had to my phase shift was negative pi. So I'm going to go negative pi over here. By the way, my y-axis is up here now. Can you see that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my x-axis. This is my y-axis. But my x-axis is all the way up here, right?
Mm-hmm.
See how I kind of cheated the system a little bit there?
Yeah, my teacher usually likes like us showing the vertical shifts. Like I don't know how to describe it, but like you use the original line as 0 for x, then you have to like use a dotted line to show where the new amplitude is going to be.
Right. But that's the reason. The reason I don't like when they put your graph here like this is because sometimes you're going way down here and you just don't have room.
Yeah.
So I like to just take whatever they gave me and make that line my midline
Mm-hmm.
and kind of shift my x-axis accordingly.
Yeah, it's easier.
In my opinion, that makes it easier. As long as you label it clearly, your teacher should be fine with that. So notice that I'm starting at negative pi.
Yep.
My interval lengths are 2 pi. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count 2 pi over. There's 1 pi, there's 2 pi, which would put me at pi, right?
Yep.
Count 2 pi over again. That puts me at 3 pi. Count 2 pi over again. That puts me at 5 pi. And count 2 pi over again. That puts me at 7 pi. These are my 5 horizontal or vertical locations. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are my 5 vertical locations that I'm looking at, that I'm thinking about. I don't want it to make it too busy, so I'm going to take that off. But these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This doesn't matter. Don't get confused by this. This isn't one of my interval markers.
Yeah.
Right? It's just these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's a sine graph, which means the sine graph is in the middle at all points. The sine graph always goes first, third, and fifth point are always in the middle. Okay.
Yeah.
Equals -3. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had my AirPod or what are these called? AirPods.
Yeah.
They died on me, so maybe you can't hear me as well. I don't know.
No, it's fine.
Those are all in the middle, and then if it's a negative sign, it starts going down. So this second spot is down here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the fourth spot is up here. So there's your one period of that sine cycle. You could do another one if you need to, but that's one. Okay.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm going to do it again for the cosine. I'm going to go a little bit faster. Again, show you and talk you through the process, and hopefully it makes sense, and hopefully your teacher is cool with the way that I do it. Usually they are cool with it. They actually, most teachers probably prefer the way I do it too. So I'm going to go up this amplitude. That means I'm going to go ahead and take this line, and again, I'm going to make it a dotted line by just whiting out some of this line. So that's my midline. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the language your teacher uses, midline?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's y equals 4, right? My amplitude is 1, so I'm going to go up to 5, and I'm going to go down to 3. Got it? So my amplitude was 1. My period is equal to 2 pi over b, which is 2 pi over 5. So flip and multiply, the 2 pi's cancel, and I just get 5. Right?
Yep.
My phase shift is equal to 2 to the right. So I'm starting at 2 to the right. And my interval lengths, take your period and multiply it by 1/4. So my interval lengths are 5/4. Now this is the part that gets a little bit tricky when you have fractions, but I'm going to show you an easy way to add with fractions. Okay. So the first thing I do is I start, I'll use black ones to label these. So here's my, now I'm going to draw my y-axis is here and my x-axis is here. Let's see, 3, 2, 1. There's my x-axis. There's my y-axis. Okay.
Yeah.
My midline. There's the peak. There's the valley. I'm gonna shift it 2 to the right. So I'm starting here. That's where I'm starting, and I'm going by 5/4. So this is going to be kind of weird, but here's my first point, and then I'm going to add 5/4 to that, which is 1 1/4, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to rewrite 2 in terms of 4. I'm going to write down here, this is 8/4. Got it? But
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and just put my markers in here roughly. So that's a little bit more than 1 away. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are my values. And that last value should be 7. Why should it be 7?
Isn't it just because the pies cancel out? Well, no, not the pies.
It's because I'm starting at 2 and my period is 5.
Oh,
Got it?
yeah.
So there's a couple ways you can do it. You can just add them together. I'll show you both ways because you're probably smart enough to do it both ways and understand both ways and not be confused by it. So one way is just to convert it to fourths. Convert this to fourths and just leave it as fourths and then reduce the fractions. So what's 5/4 plus 8/4?
13/4.
That's 13/4. Add another 5 to it. 18/4. Add another 5 to it. 23/4. Add another 5 to it. 28/4. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So this is like 9. Now let's reduce them. That's 9/2. That's 13/4. And that's 23/4. Not bad, right?
Yeah.
That's how I would do it. That's probably the easiest way. The other way you can do it is you can do like I did. There's 2 and there's 7 and find the midpoint. The midpoint of those, you add the numbers together and divide by 2. 7 plus 2 is 9. Divided by 2 is 9/2. And then you do the same thing here, but it's kind of confusing to do that. In my opinion, it's easier just to add fourths like that, like we did.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we take our cosine graph, which starts at the top or bottom. And if it's positive amplitude or positive A, it starts at the top. So it's going to be up here. So my graph's going to look like this. It's going to start at the top. It's going to end. I'm looking over here. It's going to end at the top. The midline right here is going to be at the bottom. And the second point is going to be here. The fourth point is going to be here. Got it?
Yeah.
And then just draw your graph in. And there's your cosine graph. Okay, good. Crank these out real quick. I'm just going to do these real quick for you, okay?
Yeah.
So your amplitude here is 3, but it's negative. Again, some teachers want you to write -3, but I think most of them know amplitude should be positive always.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's negative means it starts down, right? Your period is 2 pi over 2, which is pi. Your phase shift is right pi over 2. And your interval lengths, I'll call them IL, is pi over 4. Okay. And we're also shifting it up 1. Your vertical shift is 1. Okay, so this line is going to be 1. I'm shifting it up 1. So this is y equals 1. It goes up 3 from here. So 1, 2, 3, that would be 4. Down 3 would be 1, 2, 3, that'd be -2. right?
Yep.
Here's my x-axis. Here's my y-axis. I'm shifting, phase shift is right pi over 2. So here's pi over 2. And now I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to call that 2 pi over 4, right? Because I'm adding 1/4 each time. So this is going to be, let's see, and 1/4 is like half of the distance. It's 1/4 is like half of this distance, like 1/4 pi. You follow? So try to be a little bit to scale as well. So maybe the better thing to do is to make this a little bit bigger. Let's call that 1/4. So that's 1/2 right there. That's half pi. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are my things right there. So this is 2 pi over 4, right? Add one more. That's 3 pi over 4. That's 4 pi over 4, which I'm just going to write as pi. That's 5 pi over 4. And that's 6 pi over 4, which I'll write as 3 pi over 2. Can you do that in your head?
3 pi over 2.
6 pi over 4 is 3 pi over 2, right?
Yeah.
So this was 3 pi over 4. This was 4 pi over 4. This was 5 pi over 4. And this was 6 pi over 4, but I reduced them.
Yep.
As I was writing them. Okay. And now so those are my interval lengths. I see what my top and bottom are. There's my top line. There's my bottom line. And it is a cosine, and it's a negative cosine. So negative cosine starts down, right?
Yeah.
And it ends down.
Top.
Nope, it's going to end down as well.
Oh yeah.
I always like to do the first and the last points. Then I do the middle point. That'll be up high, right?
Yeah.
And the two intermediate points 2 and 4, are going to be on the midline.
Is it just an x-axis reflection?
It is.
Okay.
Because it's negative. You start at the bottom.
Yeah.
Which is an x-axis reflection. Yep. Okay, so my graph looks like this. Make sense?
Yep.
And this last one's pretty easy. You can do that. I can let you do that on your own. All right. Real good. Feel good about that?
Yeah.
I know you weren't that confused by it, but it probably helps you a little bit to see it at least done again in another way. All right. So